Starting on March 15th and going through to March 24th, the Manitoba Theatre for Young People is presenting a children's show that deals with very current social issues, but presents them in a very old school way. They have teamed up with the Arch8 dance company to present a production called Tetris. For some, the name Tetris recalls a time when fitting blocks together was a great way to kill time and get your heart rate going as the blocks came faster and faster with that always incessant music playing in the background. For others, it might just be a sign of a bygone age when this is the best people had pre-internet. Regardless, the game Tetris is iconic. Arch8 have put a very new, innovative spin on the idea of Tetris. It uses a game to draw parallels to life. The idea of wanting to fit in, but yet still being unique and individual to ourselves, and this delicate dance we do between the two throughout our lives. And joining me here in the Classic 107 studio to talk about the show, I'm joined once again by Sarah Flynn, who is an artistic associate with MTYP. Hey, Sarah, great to have you back.
Hello, thanks for having me again.
So before we get to the show, I got to ask, did you play Tetris? Have you played Tetris, or are you playing Tetris now?
I mean, I think everyone has at one point played Tetris. And I definitely did as a kid, but not a lot because I'm pretty terrible at video games. And I was really bad at Tetris, so not super fun when you suck.
And you're not playing it now, even with the show?
No, I did do some research into the stuff that's come out recently about Tetris. There was a young guy in the States that beat it. It froze on him. And so I was reading about that because I was like, that's really relevant right now to be doing the show when this is happening.
Yeah, and apparently people have beaten it since this guy.
Yeah, but he's 14, wasn't he?
I know, yeah.
It's incredible.
So it reminds me of the same guy who won the Rubik's Cube in 8 seconds again. It was a kid. Yeah. Anyway, tangent.
It's the nimble fingers.
So the show is being put on by Arch8. Who are they and where are they from? And apparently they've been doing Tetris for a while now, right?
Yeah, so Arch8 is a dance company based out of the Netherlands. Mm-hmm. And so they create work for young people. And so this show, specifically Tetris, is for around the 5 to 12-year-olds. And they've been doing it for years. We actually had it at MTYP 5 or 6 years ago. And then the artistic director, Pablo, had seen it years prior and was like, this is great, brought it. It was amazing when we had it then, and now we have it again because it's just this piece that is incredible and lasts.
I saw the trailer, and from what I understand, the show is part acrobatic stunt and part audience participation. The stunts that they do are very clearly reminiscent of the game Tetris. How did they use these stunts to put forward the idea of togetherness? And are there any other social concepts that get raised in that portion of the show?
Yeah, so they spend a lot of time fitting their bodies together in different ways and creating these shapes and these visuals with their bodies that are very reminiscent of Tetris, as well as, just talking about how we fit together and fitting together properly. And, there's parts where they're chasing each other and then they collapse and they pull one person out from the group and put themselves in. And so it all sort of is like a metaphor for the way we interact with other humans.
And then there's also the audience participation part. How does that play out on stage? And how does Arch8 get the audience up on the stage participating?
They really slowly start building that communication with the audience from the beginning all the way through. And they create a really interesting contract with the audience where they're relevant to what's happening, and then they slowly become more and more important. And so they also have these Rubik's Cubes at one point that get played with, and the Rubik's Cubes represent each of the dancers, so then they pass them to kids, and then as they spin them, they start flailing the bodies of the dancers, and so you start creating that connection, and then eventually all the kids want to be involved, so then you go here, and they put out their hand to a kid and they pull them on stage. And then once one kid's on stage, every other kid is like,
right.
When's my turn?
Yeah.
And then eventually, everyone is on stage and it's a whole big party.
How do they get across the narrative of what they're trying to get across? Is there a specific plot line to the show? Or is it just sort of exploring the idea of togetherness and fitting in together in society?
I wouldn't say there's a specific plot line. No, there's different pieces of music and different sort of dance parts that they'll do to each one that all kind of have a similar vibe within each dance piece and each section of the play. Those will all kind of fit together and they create a whole, but it's not exactly like a storyline in the way that you normally think of a storyline.
I read in the program the interview that was done with the creator and choreographer for Tetris. Help me out with the name here. Eric Kyle?
I think so. Definitely Eric.
Okay. And there's this great moment where he says, a kid at one show asked if it was about active democracy. Is part of the show about the benefits of becoming an active and engaged contributor to society?
I mean, sure, why not? Everyone gets involved in the end and they are all important to create this image and this working together and these events that are happening on stage. So it could be that. I mean, I think it depends on your level of understanding of democracy and whether you think it's a good representation of it or not.
Mm-hmm. And when I was reading the conversation, he said this kid who said that was like a kid in some New York school. I'm thinking, this kid's going to rule the world at some point.
Maybe he'll be president. Could be nice.
Smart kid. Playfulness and physical belonging and community are very much part of the show. Things we took so much for granted pre-COVID. Do you think audiences are going to appreciate the show more now because of what we've just come through? Or do you think they're going to be a little bit more apprehensive?
I mean, I saw the show this morning and you can just see the kids buzzing, vibrating with the need to connect with the dancers, to connect with each other, to be on stage, to be together. So I think it's even more. I think they are lacking that connection and that physical touch that was not there for so many years of their formative lives. Like if you're between the ages of 6 and 12, COVID was during some really important years of your life. Like to lack that communication and connection with your community is huge. So to be able to be given the opportunity to just go full force into it, they're taking it. They're grabbing, holding, running. And
it's part of being a kid, is experiencing that communication and dealing
that play and that touch and that,
Yeah, absolutely. Can you talk a little bit about the lighting and sound for the show? There are lighting and sound designers I saw in the program. How do they make use of light and sound in the show? Like, is there music? How does that work?
Yeah, so there's music for different sections of the show. So there's specific sort of dances that occur to different music. There's sections without music. And so because of the music in other parts, you notice that silence or the sound of their bodies and they're breathing a lot more. So it just sort of switches back and forth. And then the light is actually quite simple. It's very like bright and bare on the stage. But then as the audience gets more involved, you get the lights up on the audience so that everyone is then a part of the show.
Mm-hmm. And what are the costumes like for the show? Are they like just basic colors for the 4 dancers, just sort of meant to represent Tetris blocks? What does that look like?
So the costumes are pretty simple. It's 2 of them have colored pants, 2 of them have colored shirts, and then the rest is all black, and they got black runners on. So it's just like those blocks of color, and then, obviously you can see their faces, and because their faces and their reactions and their, investment in the story is really important as well.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. When you were last here, off air, we were talking about school tours. Are there school tours available for the show? And where can people go to find out and maybe perhaps book a tour? It seems like this is just a down-the-line hit for a classroom, is it?
It is, yeah, which actually means that most of our school shows are pretty sold out.
Really?
We are full for kids to come with their schools. It's been amazing. But yeah, we do, schools come to us for these shows. So we do that kind of school touring where the schools come to the theater. During the weekdays, we normally have 2 shows a day. But for Tetris, they're pretty full. But we still have lots of room in some of the public shows. Those are also filling up. But we still have room in public shows if parents want to take their kids instead of their teachers.
Yeah, it sounds like such a great opportunity and such an innovative way of just talking about connectiveness and just fitting together. Where can people go to find out more details about tickets for Tetris?
Everything's on our website, MTYP.ca, or you can always just pop on down to the Forks and come visit us at the box office there.
Sarah, as always, this has just been so much fun to talk to you today about Tetris. Thanks so much for stopping by and taking the time to talk to me again. This has just been a lot of fun.
Thanks for having me.